Pluto ingresses Aquarius January 20th, 2024, the Saturday. So much is going down. This is the biggest astrological week of this year. We're going to get into Pluto and Aquarius. This video is going to be great for the next 20 years. It's a 20-year transit. So you might want to check this video out again later this year. Because this is going to be a very long experience with Pluto and Aquarius. And it's really, really, really important about the Aquarian age. We're going to get into so much right here. And I'm going to do your sun sign horoscopes for all 12 signs, for where Pluto's going to be at in your chart, working for 20 years. Dun, dun, dun. So you're going to feel this. This is a big deal when outer planet shifts signs. It's huge because outer planets have a really long orbit around the sun. Pluto is 248-year orbit. So it is since the 1700s when we've had Pluto in Aquarius. And so no one alive has ever felt this energy before, unless you remember a past life that well, which you probably don't. So we are going into a really important experience with Pluto and Aquarius. This is something powerful, but there's so much happening on this day that's important. We're going to really start to have massive clarity flood into the collective. And first, we're going to have a Sun conjunct Pluto transit. So let's look at this chart for the Sun Pluto conjunction that's happening on January 20th at 7:45 a.m. So what's going down is that this is a yearly transit that happens every single year. And so this is the last time that the sun's going to meet up with Pluto and Capricorn during our lifetime. And so next year, the Sun Pluto conjunction will be in Aquarius. And so this is a really important conjunction and transit that happens every single year where the sun talks to Pluto. Pluto is evolution, it's power, it is transmutation, different than transformation. It's also transformation. And it is the deep subconscious realms within our psyche soul. And the sun is the illuminator. It is destiny, purpose. It is that radiant well-being. It is life force itself. And so there's so much happening with this transit because Pluto reveals the things that are deep within the subconscious. The sun illuminates and shines the light on what needs to be seen and is this radiant beam of ethereal fire and creative life force coming through. The 29th degree, this last anoretical degree of any sign, this 29th anoretical degree, is this degree mark that makes what was instinctual, where, like, for example, a baby cries to get fed instinctually. It doesn't matter if the parents are going to a funeral or, taking a shower or are walking the dog or doing something. The baby is screaming to get fed now because it has this instinct to make sure it gets its needs met so it survives. So this last anoretical degree is making that instinct into consciousness. It's making it conscious now. So the other thing that's really important about the Sun Pluto conjunction this year is that not only is that the 29th degree anoretical degree mark, but also 59 minutes. It's like really at this absolute last point of Capricorn that it possibly could be, which is so fascinating because I was gonna see if it can look up seconds, but can't do that here. So, all right. So this is so fascinating because this is a conjunction is a new beginning. And so this is a new beginning for a year. This is this important work that we're doing deep in our psyches because the sun is something, while visible, it's very much like the blood in our veins. It's very much like a deep internal part of us. It's this creative force. And Pluto is deeply the subconscious realms, the evolution. Pluto is our desires. So our desires is what causes us to act, to go do something. We have a desire for something sweet. And so we go eat some chocolate, right? So it's the desires that causes us to be alive, to be incarnated in this life, to act. So this last degree of Capricorn, why this is so profound and powerful is because what happened in Capricorn is that this has been a 16-year transit. We're not going to ever experience Pluto and Capricorn again in our lives. And Capricorn is been wildly perverted in our culture. And it is the top-down structures, it is the patriarchy being not white men, and it's very conflated with men, unfortunately. But it is actually the narcissists, psychopaths, and sociopaths, the people with damaged egos. That's actually what the patriarchy is. It's this 15% of the population that has been controlling 85% of the population. And now humanity has had their eyes opened by Pluto and Capricorn, revealing the structures of the banks that are not doing right by people. And it's not like so many people in humanity didn't know, but also Pluto is dismantling. Pluto is destruction of the old of that archetype. Pluto is once the secrets are revealed, it's kind of hard to to perpetuate them, right? And so, but also this is our deep underworkings of our psyche soul, of humanity itself. So this is like the deep undercurrents, the deep realms within our psyche soul of humanity. And so the shifts aren't necessarily, while they can be so cataclysmic on the surface, the changes that we really long to see, that's why it can be like, where are the actual shifts and changes, and why doesn't all of humanity stand up together? It's because it works in a way that's subtle, that's underneath the surface. It works in the deep rumblings of our psyche. And so the results that it produces are evident everywhere. If you're out on the street, if you're looking around and living life and being out there, you can see evidence of it everywhere. And I'm going to get into a few of those things. And so patriarchy, while it's conflated with men, which I really want to say there's, of course, amazing men out there, but a lot of men believe in equality, and believe in fairness and justice and women being free and so forth, but they have not grown up being a biological woman, living in a patriarchal, largely woman-hating world where women are minimized, trivialized, shunned, repressed, suppressed, and are conditioned and subliminally programmed with all of the programs of your body's your only value, and you need to be seen, not heard, and you need to take care of everybody else, and all of these programs. And so a biological man has not had that experience in any way. So while they may be, very much believe in equality, believe in women having full rights and all of these things, there's a huge gap between concept and practice, between application, between doing it. You can believe it and know it and think that's right all you want, but if you're not actually practicing that in your day-to-day life and the way that you function in the world, then it's pretty meaningless. So this is something really important that I wanted to bring up, because it's so important not to conflate men with patriarchy, and understand the patriarchy is actually narcissists, psychopaths, and sociopaths, and people with damaged egos that are never going to heal, that are manipulating other people and so forth, that have been at the helm of the overculture for 6,500 years. But also a lot of the good men, there's a lot of evolution needed and a lot of growth needed, because there's huge gaps between knowing something and practicing it in the way that you live your life. So with the Sun Pluto conjunction, the sun is this radiant well-being, it is ambition and life purpose and direction, and it is this genuine, vulnerable self-expression. There is this vulnerable, and not the Leo performer, actor, fake role that it's playing, because it's easy to play a role, because then you don't have to be the vulnerable, feel the vulnerableness of being your authentic self. So it's really different to playing a role is actually easy, but to actually be this genuine, vulnerable self who's expressing is really different thing. And, you know, creativity and enthusiasm, it's a procreative energy. The sun beams down all this warmth to the plants that grow and bloom, and us humans that just we soak up the sun, and we're so nourished by the sun, and our food grows, and so on. So we have warmth, we have what we need. The sun is also trust in life itself. Literally, the sun is this, you know, the moon bounces around. Sometimes it's a ghost in the middle of the day. Sometimes it's not in the sky at all. We never know where the moon's going to be. It could be up in the daytime, but the sun is very predictable and has a very predictable pattern. And it goes up, it peaks, it comes down. Even behind the clouds, you know the sun is there. And so this kind of consistency is something to really understand, that this procreative creativity, this fecundity of trusting in life itself, this consistency, you can trust in life itself. Like, where is that trust in life itself in the process of life? That is something that everything that this Capricorn 29th analytical degree is about, everything that we've seen about what is really going on in the world. And most of you that's had a spiritual awakening where you've got the, you know, your eyes blown open, and of course awakening just keeps unfolding, keeps unfolding, keeps unfolding as you like, we'll never stop awakening once we've been awakened. You get to see more and more and more the realities of what's really going on, of all of the technologies, Aquarius, that we're going to get into, that have been hidden from us, that could have made it to where there's no poverty, no homelessness, no mental health issues, clean energy, no toxins in our air and water and soil, polluting our foods, people spraying things in our foods. You know, we could have been living in a much different world for the last 100 years. That secret has been revealed. And so, you know, all of these hidden technologies, you know, Pluto, we're going to get into that with the Pluto and Aquarius part, but I just want to talk about this Pluto Sun conjunction that's happening in the morning of the 20th. We have like bam, 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 these different transits happening this day. So it's going to be like a really pop kind of day. You might not feel that great, to be honest, because a lot is going to be shifting in your energy field, in your consciousness, and you might be really, really tired. You might have gotten sick recently. You might get sick. So rest, take time off. And luckily it's happening on a Saturday. You know, just be, let yourself do the nourishing activities that you need to refuel. You know, when we can't go to sea, we repair the nets. So make sure to replenish, refuel, and feed your light, feed your soul this day. And and what this, and you know, if you're watching this video later, just think back to kind of like what set the stage for this year, because this is like a yearly transit, right? And so Pluto is power and instinct. It's the revealer, it's resourcefulness. It breaks through our unconscious places, and sometimes cataclysmically, sometimes catastrophically, because we're not listening, or we can't listen because we're so programmed and inundated with that false belief, that false operating system, that we can't do something different. We're just under the mercy of it, right? And so that's why it so often takes such a huge catastrophic thing to shake somebody up out of that way of living life, to go in different directions, and to also to know what you're capable of and what's possible for you. So so this Sun Pluto conjunction is, you know, revealing everything that we've seen, the $34 billion sex trafficking business that's happening on the planet, all of the industrial medical complex, the industrial educational complex, that we're not educating our children, we're indoctrinating our children, always has been. Maybe if you have a child at Waldorf or Montessori, maybe you're a little bit luckier, but you know, the college educational industrial complex, these, you know, student loans used to be 3-4%. Now that, you know, this artificial inflation that is happening, artificial inflation that's happening, while General Mills is making more profit than they ever have, yet supposedly they need to raise their prices $5 over 10 months on individual products. because supposedly there's some, shortage somewhere that the price is needing to go higher to cover some costs somewhere. It's completely artificial. It's completely bullshit. And in a way, like, what can I personally do about that? Could all of us get together and do something? We could. And that is one of the interesting things, that in the time of Martin Luther King Jr., there was one source of media, and so people would absolutely 100% see this one source of media. I mean, for one, you don't have a plethora of options to be entertained with, so you're not distracted. If you're going to turn on something to zone out to, you're going to get to see him speaking. And so everybody was on alert that, hey, we're fighting for rights here, for the rights of Black people. We're fighting. We need to come out and get to the rallies. He would speak, he would be televised. And so everyone would know to show up and to fight for this cause and to come together. But with the ubiquity, this is one of the downsides of the ubiquity now of different entertainment sources, of news, of media, etc. There's no one way to get the message out to the people, to have people rally for a cause. Although we do have the women's big march on Washington Monument, which was amazing and so profound and so huge, and yet still, though, Roe v. Wade got reversed. So we've seen the darkness of the patriarchy keep trying to suppress women in 2023, in 2022. It's just like, wow. But women are not going back into domestication. Women don't need men. Women don't need anybody. We need ourselves. We all are, family of humankind that need connection and community, but it's not like it was. And so, like, women are the hinge pin to all of humanity moving into the light, moving out of depravity. Whenever women have been liberated, so too has there been sexual liberation. And this is such an important point, because women are always programmed that they need to be some kind of way sexually, the depraved sexuality that's on the planet. Sexuality should be a celebration, but 99% of sexuality on the planet is depraved. And most people are really blind to this. So there's still so much to have our eyes open to. But Pluto has tried to do the best it could. And this Pluto-Sun conjunction is like popping the cork on humanity's consciousness, making everything that we understood, took in, saw, maybe subliminally, maybe just caught a little, sentence of a news piece or looked here. It's going to become conscious for all of humanity. There's some big awakening happening here. Goats are like, Capricorn is goats, right? And so it's that pan archetype, like the horny goat of the sexual energy, but it's the sexual trickster, energy. It's this depravity. And so also think about goats, it's achievement and accomplishment, but Capricorn is a yin feminine sign. It's the circle of Iroquois grandmothers making decisions in a council together for the betterment of the whole community, decisions that don't leave people hungry and unfed and mentally unwell and unhoused, that there's these decisions for the whole community. But the perversion of Capricorn in our culture has been a top-down structure that has left billions of people just spending their whole lives trying to survive, that then what they do with the rest of their time is just trying to relax and have some sort of semblance of a happy life. And so entertainment and drugs and escapism, and just get caught in this programmed, Capricorn is all the programming, is all the groupthink, is all of the the control, and that we've been habituated to dysfunction, that we've been habituated to abuse as if it's normal. It's been normalized in our culture. And I hope you can see how obvious it is everywhere. I mean, reality TV, everybody's fighting, and Jerry Springer's show, and just like, it's just constant dysfunction, and like as if it's okay for abuse to just to go on. And so it's so much about these parts of Capricorn that have been perverted, and that we've had our eyes open to it. And now we have this opportunity to move forward. So at the beginning of before Pluto goes into Aquarius, it's important to understand what happens before Pluto goes into Aquarius. So we have this Pluto Sun conjunction. It's an awakening of humanity to the greater spiritual reality, a feminine awakening, so that we can get out of the perversion, depraved ways things work, the top down, where people are left hungry, no mental health, homeless population has exploded. But really, it's actually a lot of people are reporting that work in this industry are reporting that it's actually always been like this, but now it's just visible. But personally, that doesn't quite add up for me. Just psychically, I can feel into it. And like, no, there's actually been an explosion of the homeless population, along with people being kicked out and shelters being shut down, to where now people are forced out in the street. And so now it's just more visible. But that's the whole thing about Pluto, is it reveals the cracks in the fissures in the foundation. And Capricorn is Saturn, is rule, Saturn rules Capricorn. It's the structures, and Capricorn is society. It's the structures of our society. We've seen the fissures, we've seen the cracks. It's starting to be dismantled. The great news is that the patriarchy, we don't have to fight it. We already infiltrated it. So, just being a woman that's awakened at this time, but so many women are needing to overcome imposter syndrome, overcome superiority issues, all of their inner subconscious wounding and past life patterns and traumas and all of their stuff, and actually heal. One of the big things is like, people need to know that things can be healed, and they can be healed completely. So many people are under this notion that they can't be healed. That they're just like living this way. No, like we are meant to heal. We are in the time of the great healing, especially up to the Saturn Uranus conjunction happening in 2032. So you really want to go do that inner work, because that's everything that's holding you back from accomplishing your big wild dreams. And so let's go back to the chart and look at a little bit more of what's happening. Pluto and the sun are illuminating what's been going on behind the scenes. Another important part of this conjunction is Arachne here, goddess spider woman, or goddess grandmother spider. This goddess asteroid, this archetype is all about the web of interconnectedness that we exist in, and how something happening over here affects something over here, that we all matter, how important we all are, and how we have to realize how much power that we have. We have to remember Pluto's power, and Pluto's been trying to show the people, like, look, you've been under this control, you've been under this suppression, you've been under these programs. Start to realize how much power you have. If 85% of this population stood up and said, no more, we don't know how we're going to rebuild it, but no more. No more Amazon monopolies, just because we want convenience. No more, working for nothing, and just spending your whole life trying to survive, barely making it by, and spending your time going out and drinking and partying to just try to make life seem like it's a good life. And you're never actually creatively self-actualizing and finding out what you're capable of, and bringing something to humanity. I mean, just the guy that tightrope walk between the Twin Towers, somebody might not think that's like a really interesting thing, or it's not what they would want to do with their life. Like, maybe they think they want to go be a professor at a university or go do some science discovery. But that, like, is so inspiring, and it's such pushing the edge of what humans are capable of. It really just expands our consciousness of, like, we are so capable of so much, but most people never even attempt to discover what that might be within their own selves. And so, like, understanding your power and how much effect you do have, just because you might not see it, it might not be like visible, doesn't mean you're not having a huge effect. So this is so important. Venus is conjuncting the galactic center at this time, bringing back this interconnectedness with all of life, the celestial, with Mother Earth, with the cosmos, our universe. energetically with ourselves, understanding we are divine, that we're from the divine, we are divine, we are the river of the divine. This galactic center at not 27 degrees Sagittarius, Sagittarius being from whence we come from, where our solar system is birthed, right? This galactic center where our galaxy is birthed. So this is Sagittarius. It is natural law, natural truth, way, way different from man-made ideas and ideologies and dogmatic religions and the ideas of right and wrong, ideas of justice and fairness, ideas of what you should do, shouldn't do, all of these handbooks and manuals for how people should live and behave and what they should think and how they should talk and that they should send a birthday card and always do this XYZ thing. And it's just not the case. Actually, if we just acted from natural law, we would have to deal with the 15% of the population. But setting that aside, if the 85% of the population wasn't programmed and wasn't under group think and mass formation and mass hypnosis and was individuated and just working within their own self as divine, connected to divine, everything in this natural rhythm, how would our world be different? Like working, not working outside of what's natural. Like, how would our world be so much different? So this Venus is communing with the galactic center and infusing our relationship with ourselves, our relationship with others, and our inner desire nature with the truth and the reclamation of this natural way of living with all of life and the interconnectedness of all of life at the time of this Sun Pluto conjunction. And we also have this we also have no aspects to the sun during this. There's a purity here. There's a real purity. There's a real like integration of everything that we've seen, everything that we've awakened to. And there is this T square to Juno and Neptune at the time of this to Venus. But these are squares that are separating. And so there's this psychological integration happening at the time of this Pluto Sun conjunction early in the morning at 7:45 a.m. Central Time. So just for your time zone. And Juno, relationships, and Virgo, humility. And at the time of this Sun Pluto conjunction, we have Lilith, all about equality and relationships and not settling and just having a relationship just because you don't want to be alone, or just because you think you have to, or just because you grew up with this person, or because they have the title of your mom or your sister or your cousin, but actually saying, no, my relationships must have equality. I must be valued. I want to value them. They must be reciprocal. They must have these things. Otherwise, no, I would rather be alone, or I would rather deal with being demonized, etc., to really stand in my power. Lilith is a reclamation of our power and a reclamation of our ability to take our will to create our destiny. Leo, where women never had this because we were suppressed, we were abused, controlled, domesticated, violence upon us, etc. And at the time of the Sun Pluto conjunction, the feminine is saying, no, I'm taking my will to create my destiny. I'm accomplishing my goals. I am reclaiming my prosperity, where during the witch trials, where 9 million women were killed because it was a land grab for our wealth, our property that we owned. And now only 3 to 13% of women own land in the world, that we are in a reclamation right now. And so this is how much it matters that you realize how important you are. And how much Arachne, goddess asteroid, affect the whole with everything you do. Maybe you'll never see it. This one woman, she was an astrologer. She wrote this amazing astrology book, and my guides and the divine just magically helped me to find this book at this just magical moment, and she'll never know. You know, she's dead. She died. But if she didn't write that book, I wouldn't have had all of the important things that came out of that experience, and so much that's transpired because she did her important work in the world that maybe she never got a plum for, that maybe she didn't get much acknowledgement, maybe she never knew how wildly her work affected the world. You know, maybe no one ever saw her get awards, or no one ever saw her get accolades or recognition or status or money. You know, maybe she never made much money, but that is what is trying to be awakened within the consciousness of all of humanity, of realizing just how important it is. Everything that you do has an effect. So if you do something and it's unconscious, it still has an effect. If you do something consciously, it has an effect. It doesn't matter if it's unconscious or conscious. That's why it's so important that we're waking up and that we heal. We do the healing work. Pluto has a heart-shaped iceberg on it. And so the iceberg is denoting frozen emotions that have never been released, or emotions that have been stuck down, and suppressed emotions that have never been healed, released, felt, allowed, because that's where you get the transformation. That's where you reclaim your power. That's where you actually get the wisdom of your own evolution, of the challenges you've been through. That's where we actually change and grow and evolve as humanity. And so there's so much heart with Pluto. Pluto is actually healing. You know, most people would never say that about Pluto, but that is what all of what Pluto does is about, is actually healing, to transform, to alchemize into something better than what it was. So, really important. I mean, it's really magical is what it is. It's what it is now. So, you know, all these trines, um, from the nodes, from the North Node in Aries, that learning the lesson of the archetype of autonomy, independence, taking initiative, catalyzing action, confidence, courage, assertiveness, owning your no and yes, all of that healing of the deep wounds of not being seen and heard, being suppressed, not having an identity because you blended in with your family, because you Libra people please, because you were domesticated or abused or programmed or under, you know, whatever. We all have these things that we've had to grow through, awaken from, realize, and that process can be quite, you know, painful going through it. But on the other side, you're just a completely different person. And there's all these trines to Lilith. The moon is in Taurus at the last degree, the last analytical degree at the time of the Sun Pluto conjunction. So the moon in Taurus, self-reliance. Taurus is about self-reliance. It's about valuing yourself. It's about your self-worth. It's about understanding your gifts, talents, and resourcefulness, your MacGyverness, you know, that you can face anything, that anything that happens, you have the ability to figure it out, to tap into the resources within yourself to do what's needed in that moment. You have it within you. And the moon at this 29-degree mark of Taurus is adding to this awakening, this pop of consciousness that's happening to humanity this year, of like, understand all that is within you. Understand you can build the house. You can learn plant medicine. You can learn what the edible plants in your area are. You can learn what the medicinal plants in your area are. You can forage for food. You can learn how to hunt. You can learn how to grow a garden. You can learn how to build a house. You can learn a skill. You can realize you have skills that you never knew you had because you just never had the room to grow and explore and discover, or you just never had the right variables come along where you had this discovery, this understanding, like, oh, I'm really talented and skilled here. You know, I have this gift, I have this ability. Most people are so caught up in insecurity and self-doubt and worrying what other people think. Libra shadow, South Node, what, you know, the archetype we're learning, we're healing. They're so caught up in all of that and all of the mental gymnastics, spinning, that they are not focusing on what they can do, focus on the talents they do have, focus on mastering, improving them, working at the craft of that of the gifts that you have. It's like there's something about this spell, this Virgo spell, that you're supposed to be like masterful at it all of a sudden. But it's like a baby learning to walk, you know, a toddler learning to walk, falls down, falls down, falls down, hits their head on the corner of the coffee table. I mean, they're getting concussions and bopped around and all of this stuff. Like they're like, you know, looking like they're drunk. You know, if anybody looked at that process, you know, they look like they're not succeeding all the way up to the moment when finally, bam, they're walking, and then you can't get them to stop, right? And so like if somebody was looking at that process, they'd go like, oh, this is a fucking failure, let's just abort, you know, let's just be in that defeatism and that nihilism, like fuck this. But actually that is the whole process of succeeding. That's the process of succeeding, making the masterpieces, making many, many, many pieces, many of which suck. So if we can understand that at the time of this conjunction, you know, Saturn is going to be here for this, for these 3 years, for these, you know, this time. And Saturn's at this 5-degree mark of Pisces, with Neptune ruling and at home in Pisces, Neptune being about dispelling the illusions, understanding truth from falsehood. That's what Neptune in Pisces has been about. It has been about humanity understanding the difference between truth and falsehood. Our egos are very easily convinced, brainwashed, tricked, just unable to see the illusion and things. And we have to tap into something other than our ego, but our intuition, our knowing, our inner sense, and also our, you know, get out of our limbic fear primal brain and get into our prefrontal cortex that's been developed to be wildly creative and to to problem solve and to be creative and innovative, and to tap into those resources and understand truth from falsehood. Mercury is still in shadow at the time of this conjunction. And so there's something really important that's I'm going to talk about later is, but Mercury is in Capricorn, you know, mulling on the structures and so forth. And with this square to Chiron, there is as much that's going to come to clarity when Mercury gets out of shadow later on this very day. So Mercury's going to move out of shadow. And Mars in Capricorn here, Mars likes to be at home here. So we have this like good Mars that is really, let me just check something real quick. Mars is, yeah, Mars is going to be back in bounds soon at the time of this Sun Pluto conjunction, but is still out of bounds. And so it's giving us an energy to go against the grain, go against the status quo, go against the patriarchy, go against the way things have always been, to individuate, to step into our individuality, to step into our agency, our choice, our power, take our power back, understand that, you know, I'm going to talk about it with Pluto and Aquarius, but we have had all of these things happen to give humanity its power back. But so many people are still sleepwalking in a slumber in that old world and are not doing all that they can do. We have a lot of quincunxes in this chart, and it's just lending this creative energy and this push to move forward. You know, there is this challenge with Saturn and the South Node. The reality is malleable. our imagination. We have to reclaim our imagination from all of the victim, villains, savior movies, all the movies about war and death and cops and detectives and murder and death. And where is there a movie that's feel good? Where is there a movie about inventions or radical ideas and concepts, which is Aquarius, or interesting possibilities? Like, hardly is there a movie about that. And even if there is, there's still a villain. There's still this revenge and death and murder and abduction and rape and all of these things. Like, it's constantly fed into us and fed into us and fed into us, unless you choose not to put that shit in your brain. Like, are you making conscious choice about what you put into your being, what you put into your consciousness, what you allow to habitate your consciousness for 1 minute, or to be in your body, or for what people you allow in your life? It's so important to think about these things. um and so these are the important things about the sun moon conjunction. So you know we're awakening to our own authorship of our life, our own authority, instead of being under the domination of somebody else's authority. There's like so many movies I've kind of seen either a trailer for or watched recently, where it is really showing this whole archetype of where somebody is waking up, or showing how what's happening on the planet right now, where everyone is waking up from having been in a narcissistic relationship, and like just under that, just like for years, just living under narcissistic control of somebody else. Is like game plan for your life, and like not even like realizing that that's not normal, that's not healthy. Like, not even realizing you're not like making your own decisions under your own agency at all. So incredibly powerful, like how people are waking up and taking their power back, like neurodivergent, gender identity, pronouns, like people, like relationship diversity. People are claiming and demanding to be valued everywhere on the earth right now. So right after the Sun Pluto conjunction, the sun ingresses into Aquarius, making no aspects, separating conjunction to Pluto. And then right after that, Pluto ingresses Aquarius. And this is what we really want to get into, right? Oh my God. I'm having some like interesting stuff going down right now. All right. So then we have, Aquarius following the sun, ingressing into Pluto, following the sun, ingressing into Aquarius. And Pluto is going to be here until September. In September, it's going to go back into Capricorn until November. And then November 24th, it's going to move. I think it's November 24th. No, that might not be right, but whatever it is. But anyways, in November, let's just look. What is the date? Bam. It's September. What's happening here? November 19th. So November 19th, Pluto is going to go into Aquarius for 20 years until 2044. Oh my gosh. Wow. Okay. So what's amazing about what's happening is we just talked about Pluto and Capricorn, and I talked about it at length for a reason. And it's because Pluto, like we can look at the last 16 years and see what we went through. And so we can see what happened. And in 1888 we had like the Hidden Doctrine. We had Madame Blavatsky's book, The Hidden Doctrine, come out. And it brought mysticism to this whole new level on the planet and really awakened lots of people on the planet and awakened this kind of undercurrent of awakening in the human population. In the 60s, we had a huge awakening, feminine revolution, sexual liberation and revolution, protesting the war, standing up, and this great pilgrimage to India and to places of the East that had different customs and traditions that were meditation and getting out of the mind and getting into the heart and valuing life and being more connected with the interconnectedness of all of life, and bringing different kinds of medicine back to the States. And so there was this great pilgrimage and all of this information that flooded in, and such a huge awakening. And JFK was this awakener, even though he told everybody, he like told the mob he was going to take them down, and then the mob took him out. We're pretty sure Trapacanti is Trapacanti is the one that took him out. Like there's a couple guys that did this like 9-volume like really deep in-depth research, and that seems to be who it points to. So it's kind of fascinating. I think the answer might be in Behold the Pale Horse, that book, which is a really fascinating book, although I haven't looked at it in like maybe 10 years, 15, 20 years. So I don't have to look at it again and see what's all in that book, because it's a pretty fascinating book, but I'd encourage it. 1987, the Great Convergence, when there was this explosion of looking at our minds and how our thoughts create reality, how our thoughts end up as our results, how our thoughts create our emotions. Emotions are created by thoughts, created by energies. So like if you get this like glommed onto you depression energy because you went to a grocery store and somebody was depressed and their energy like attached to you, and you bring it home with you, and now you think you're depressed, when actually we need to do energetic maintenance and energetic self-care, and we have to learn this energetic psychic world. Saturn and Pisces, the collective, Saturn needs to wake up to energetic psychic empowerment, because that's how the patriarchy keeps controlling everyone, is through thought control, through programming, and through energy manipulation and frequency manipulation and all of that. And so this Aquarius is that all of this stuff is going to be revealed. And so in 1987, the Great Convergence, this big awakening on the planet, you had Byron Katie and Louise Hay, and you had life coaching really come about, and Martha Beck, and all of these women who started like having awakenings and starting teaching about the mind, and that you actually do have control of your thoughts, and you can actually create your world, and there's so much great possibility, and you can push the edge of your greatness, and you can discover what you're capable of. So all of this started happening. We had another big awakening in 2012 and another one in 2020, and so much is happening. And so Pluto in Capricorn was this big tearing down of the old system of the patriarchy. We've infiltrated it. It is dismantling before our eyes, and so many people keep trying to, that 15% of the population keeps trying to find new ways to control humanity, and it's going to be through technology, and we're going to have to be awake and aware. Sweden has been putting chips in their hands for convenience. Look at how people are so convinced with 2020, the mass formation, the mass psychosis that happened on the planet. So if people are so convinced and so feared out and so anxious, when people are under anxiety or fear, they're highly controllable and manipulatable and programmable. And so that's why doing the inner healing work, being a sovereign being, being emotionally very clear and energetically very clear, like being able to deal with the whole spectrum of human emotions, which Pluto is emotions. So do you have power, control Pluto over your human spectrum of human emotions, or are you just swayed by rampant fear that's pushed out into the world by the mass media? It's like that was a big experiment. Saturn went into Aquarius March 20th. We had a Pluto Saturn conjunction in January. Like that was a big experiment on humanity. But also spirit, the divine, our own psyche soul always alchemizes everything that we face and every challenge and all of the darkness. You could say at a much Neptunian higher thought process, philosophical way of looking at everything, that dark and light are revolving halves of the whole. However, I think that when originally we were philosophizing about it, that we were not realizing the depth of human depravity. Like it just seems like the bottom is endless in human depravity. The darkness could actually just be contrast. And that's what I'm working towards in my life, is that the darkness is not the worst of human depravity, but is actually just contrast, and allows us to evolve and to be working out things. So and so we want to realize that technology is going to be the new way, and it's still going to be your thoughts, it's still going to be your frequency, but is going to be the way that you're going to be controlled. And so Sweden has been putting a chip in their hand just to get on a train for 4 years. If people will do it out of convenience, and the mass formation and mass psychosis and hysteria happened in 2020, and people are so convinced by all the things that are well documented as psychological ploys and tricks, and we have so much documentation of what the CIA has done and of what these backroom factions of the government that are off book and beyond our constitutional and acting in the world, and world leaders getting together in the back rooms of hotels outside of any sort of camera or media footage and making plans. And like we have to be aware that if people can be programmed for convenience, to put technology in their body and to use technology in such a way that is not helpful, like do we have the frequencies of technology like healing for the body? We can use technology where it's not actually all the frequencies disrupting our normal human bodily functions, animals, lights, the birds, the bees, all of these, our food systems, all of these things. Like there's technology that doesn't disrupt like that. Egyptians had it. Ancient societies have already had much higher levels of technology than we ever have had so far. And and what our trajectory of like how we think of where we got to here of time. So it's like we have to stop buying in and going along. Like Apple just put out these goggles. Well, when are those goggles going to be something that you insert in the brain? And how readily are people just going to go along with that? Just go along. Well, I can get onto the train out of convenience, and people are on like social media like, look, all of my paychecks are just right in my hand now. It's so amazing. It's like there's technology that's great and there's technology that's not. And we have to remember that technology is not just silver gadgets. Technology is paved roads, indoor plumbing, architecture. That's all technology. That was really revolutionary, Aquarius, at one time. So we have to understand what technology is. Also, so, you know, we have to like be aware that the control is going to be through technology, and it's going to be something like how Amazon has blown up the way it has, where Amazon is putting hand sensors in grocery stores now. How soon is that going to be a chip in your hand? How soon is that going to be a card in your hand? And they're going to deny you the ability to pay at that grocery store unless you have that. And so you will be forced to go to different places that don't have the things that you want or need, or to put a chip in your hand. Like, how soon are we going to be forced into things, and are we going to stand up and say no to that? We are being called back to the earth. There's so many people talking some really big bullshit about not to grow gardens, that's not good to do, not to be connected to the land, when that's the exact opposite. Aquarius, the ruler, Uranus rather, the ruler of Aquarius is in earth sign, is in Taurus, the earth. Taurus is the earth. Taurus is fecundity and abundance and springtime and that solid earth. our stability, our ability to like grow food, have shelter, have warmth, clothing, basic Maslow's hierarchy of needs is Taurus. And so Uranus is saying, has been disrupting the earth to disrupt us, to awaken us, to come back home to the earth. That's what Uranus and Taurus has been saying since 2018. And so what's really fascinating about Pluto going into Aquarius is that it's happening when Neptune is in Pisces, saying you got a little bit of time here left with Neptune and Pisces until next year to figure out truth from falsehood, guys. Like, come on, get to it. And while Pluto's in Aquarius until September, Neptune is going to be at the 29th degree mark from May until September. And so it's going to be at that last analytical degree, trying to make instinct conscious, trying to make our ability to discern truth from falsehood conscious, and not just something we know without knowing how we know. And so it's not really that help, like a baby, it's instinctual, it gets fed. But what if it's not in an environment with parents feeding it? It couldn't actually provide for itself. So that's why the instincts alone, like, we must make it conscious so that we can actually be functional and have agency and have empowerment ourselves. At the time of Pluto ingressing Aquarius, we have Venus conjunct the galactic center, exact, bringing back all of life, living in harmony with what's natural, with natural law, with nature. We have Uranus in Taurus, until 2026. So at this beginning time, these beginning period of time with Pluto and Aquarius saying, wake up, people of the earth, and come back home to the earth, come back home to your connection with life, to your connection to food, water, land, that it's a symbiosis. Stop poisoning, our food, water, land. And here's the thing, 85% of us is not really actively, for the most part. There's some like idiots, and there's some obtuse people, and there's some asleep people, but the rest of us aren't going about just polluting our home and our habitat on purpose. However, we're often doing it where, like, my stepdad, for example, would just pour the oil from changing the oil of all of our cars into the grounds out back by the shed. Like, that's an example of how people just don't care. They're thoughtless, they're obtuse, they're just not getting it. It's like, no, oil, it came from the earth because it was a petrochemical, because it was ancient sunlight, because it was fossils, but then it got manufactured and turned into some completely different form, and now you're just pouring it into our groundwater. Really brilliant. And where our fields and our food is grown, with the field right next door, like, wow. And the rain that's going to fall and then evaporate the water and then fall onto our food and our gardens, and that oil, like, is now in the ecosystem and poisoning the ecosystem. So 85% of the population is not doing it on purpose, and really likes the idealism of living in balance and symbiosis with the earth and caring about the earth. They like the idea of it, but there's a gap between practice and knowledge and concept. Really, really important to understand that difference. So, you know, this Aquarius season with the sun here for the season is going to be really electrified by Pluto, and Mercury will be hitting that 0 degree mark February 5th. So from now to February 5th, there's going to be this huge like blooming of clarity and direction and getting the plot back. And, we're going to have air back. The sun's going to be in air. Mercury's going to go into air, and Pluto and Mars. And so we're finally going to have air in the chart again. So we're going to be able to like think and understand what we're doing. However, you can get caught in non-action. So really understanding that. So some of the important things about Pluto and Aquarius, it's happening at 6:56 p.m. It's happening, universal time, 12:56 a.m. on January 21st. This is a dismantling of the illusion of social status. This perversion of Capricorn, this illusion of hierarchy. This is dismantling. Pluto going into Aquarius is dismantling this illusion that social status is real. It's not real. It's a glamorization. Which is a falsehood. It's a movie. It's a projection. It's not true. but materialism has been glamorized and status has been made to be the thing that you supposedly should be reaching for, and all the things that spell that comes with that spell, that program. And so people spend their life either trying to survive or chasing their tail to get this status, and it's all just an illusion. Pluto is going to reveal these things. Pluto is going to reveal all of the power and control that is trying to be used upon the human population with technology. Pluto is going to reveal to us all of the issues with technology and science and the things that have been going on underneath the surface. A bunch of secrets are going to be revealed over these 20 years of what's really been going on with science and experiments and torturing animals and cloning people when they weren't allowed to, and it's against the law, but they're actually doing it. And all the people who are doing science experiments that aren't backed by a lab, and I'm not saying that's wrong, but again, are you living within natural law? Are you doing things that like people are doing in Atlantis, is just why it got shut down and it exploded, is because people were doing like bestiality and making humans into animals and all of this genetic modification that was a perversion. It was outside of natural law. And so all of the things that people have been doing with technology, for good or bad, is going to start to be exposed, disclosed, and revealed. Something really important that's happening. One of the things about Aquarius is society, it's the collective, it's humanity itself. And so we're moving into this circle of life, instead of like this hierarchy system, or this ladder, climbing the ladder, right? Chasing our tail like humanity's been doing with this person on top, right? So we're moving into this collective world. And here's the reason why, is that there's been a democratization of information, a democratization of consciousness, a democratization of technology that has allowed people to find a way to provide for themselves financially, which has helped us to take back our power, to stop being under the control of jobs we don't want to do, of a way of life we don't want to live, of a lifestyle we didn't choose, that we feel beholden to. And so many people are still under that, but people are awakening, people are awakening, people are awakening. The other thing about Aquarius is consciousness, Aquarius is awakening. So Pluto and Aquarius is this illumination, bringing the things from the subconscious up to consciousness so that we can actually deal with them and do something about them and act and heal and grow and transform. Pluto is transformation, which is changing, like where the core thing stays the same, but something about it shifts. Pluto is alchemy and transmutation, which means that it's a completely different thing. Caterpillar to butterfly, lead to gold, lemon to lemonade, completely different thing. So it's a transmutation. And so there is this like thing that's shifting. Humanity, can stand up and say no. We are already seeing how humanity is blooming by healing. So many, just millions and millions and millions of people are finally waking up to finally identify Gemini. And there's a Gemini moon at the time of Pluto going into Aquarius that's helping us to identify our emotions, to identify the things going on in our world, because once we identify it and label it, name it, now we can heal it, release it, feel it, work with it, and deal with it. So gender, relationship diversity, pronouns, neurodivergence, the healing that's blooming on the planet, waking up from narcissistic abuse, everyone waking up from the being asleep to their own power, waking up to their own gifts and abilities and talents. This is what's happening with Pluto going into Aquarius. Pluto is power. Pluto is where, Aquarius is where that power is transferred to the people, but it's not like it's just given. It's just that the people that we had this democratization of technology with the internet, with computers, with the less costliness of technology and having a computer just on your phone, and social media and all of these methods and the democratization of information to learn, to become an expert, to grow, to have knowledge to at your fingertips. All of this has returned power to the people so that everyone is, now instead of being top down, it's bottom up, sideways over. People are building communities everywhere. People are living the way they want. People are getting off grid, going to van life, traveling, seeing the world, not being stuck in 9-to-5 jobs. People are living the way that they want, building the lifestyle that is of their, choice, of their agency, of their dreams. So this is a liberation. Aquarius is liberation. It's freedom. So this liberation of the collective, a liberation of our minds. Pluto is going to reveal all of the thought control that's been going on, all of the group think, all of the mass formation, the mass hypnosis that's been going on. So a lot of that's going to be revealed. Also, there's going to be this revealing of trauma. Aquarius and Uranus is trauma, disruption. It is, this giant breakthrough, but things break down before we break through, right? So there's going to be this revealing of the trauma that the collective has that needs to heal for us to move forward. And many of us that are healers, like we're well aware, and we've been on the shamanic journey ourselves so that we actually have the wisdom, not just knowledge, book knowledge, because that's not wisdom. That doesn't help anybody. It's not applicational, to actually understand what people go through. So we have humility, compassion, empathy, and skills to really help people heal. That's what I do in my 1-to-1 6-month coaching container, is I help people heal from past life traumas that are playing out patterns in this life. They keep repeating patterns of things not working and being blocked and limited and don't know why. And like, why do I feel this way? And I'm a person that acts and takes action, but these things keep happening. And it's because of like past life issues. I'm a psychic and I do past life healing. And I for 34 years, I gathered all of my skill set together and I help women to overcome all of that, to overcome imposter syndrome, to overcome self-doubt, and to have emotional management skills for the rest of their lives so they have their power back, so that no matter what happens, they can solve any problem, they can accomplish any dream that they want ever after. Coaching is like a magic ATM. You put $2,000 in and you get $5,000 out. You put $5,000 in and you get, $1 million out. It literally helps you get the things that you want. It helps you solve the problems you're trying to solve. And so if you've been thinking about, making your dreams a reality and healing the old shit that's been holding you back, or the traumas or the pains, or just, regrets, or just having lost somebody and trying to go through grief, this is what I help women with. So you can go to empoweredwomenrise.com and book a free discovery call where you will get the transformation of clarity, which unlocks a door to energy, motivation, and direction. So really encourage you to go book that. So, Pluto's going to reveal the trauma of the collective that most people aren't aware to the depth that it is. They're not aware that they have trauma. They think you got trauma. I had an astrologer tell me, like, your chart has trauma signatures all over. I'm like, honey, when was I not in trauma? Like, you think this is news to me? Like, and then of course, just a very like, like removed, like, observing a zoo animal kind of like way to go about it. It's like it's lacking humanity. Aquarius is a very impersonal sign. Like we, the thing is that like I think people think that we're going to have such an infusion of Aquarius energy like when Saturn was in Aquarius, but Pluto is not like that. Pluto is making things conscious. Pluto is revealing things. Pluto is showing the power structures. Pluto is where there's been a betrayal of power, abuse of power, but those things are getting revealed. Pluto is destruction. Pluto is going to destroy our group think, our programming, our brainwashing that we've been under, because that, the conformity, that is Aquarius, that's shadow Aquarius. Pluto is going to destroy shadow Aquarius. However, just like with the Capricorn archetype that I went into kind of deeply on purpose to show that it doesn't mean the changes to our world are so obvious and so visible. I mean, to me, I'm seeing it everywhere. but I'm also out in the world, out in the street, talking to hundreds of people, thousands of people, and, looking out there in the world and seeing it. But a lot of people don't have those eyes with which to see. And so they're like, well, nothing's really changing. And sometimes I feel like that too, like nothing's really changing with like the big institutions and the big structures of our world and our society. But here's the thing, it's changing the roots and the foundation, because that's what Pluto is. Pluto is our subconscious. Our subconscious creates reality. So Pluto is going through and destroying the old subconscious things with which we created our reality, and saying no more to all of the shadow that is keeping you from evolution, Pluto, from growing, Pluto. And so everything is shifting, but it's shifting deep in our psyche and in our consciousness in ways that will be externally seen over the coming decades. And it's like we'll really be looking back. Like I'm just looking back at the last 4 years and how much has shifted about our world. It's more nuanced, it's more subtle, it seems like smaller. It's not that big, like where everyone in the world is just like, no more, corporations that are charging $5 more for your morning tea in 10 months. Like, we don't tolerate this anymore. And we're, only doing farmers markets until they either change and reduce the artificial inflation back to prices of, a year and a half ago, or we will never shop in your grocery stores again. Like, it'd be amazing if the people of the world would stand up collectively to demand change, or to just make our own new corporations that are based on natural law, based on the heart, based on actually caring about humanity. And here's the thing, there are a lots of people making big big businesses, or big communities, or groups, or I don't want to say institutions, because it's just such a, the word's not negative, but it has a negative connotation, right? But you know what I'm saying, making these big organizations that are doing amazing things. There's one in Israel that's happening. There's some in the UK. There are huge things happening. It's just, again, it feels like it's hidden, and so forth. So, the real technology that's been hidden from us from 100 years that could have made, I said this earlier, like that's going to be revealed by Pluto. It's already been revealed, but I think what's going to be revealed is like more and more and more of the collective is going to get the memo, you know? So, we're moving into the Aquarius era, right? The south node of Pluto is in Capricorn, showing us what has come before. It's the past. It's the patriarchy. That has what has pushed our evolution to move towards what our growth is that we want, which is moving towards intuition and emotional security. Because when we have emotional security, Cancer, now humanity, each individual makes really different choices and behaves really differently, because they're not at the mercy of anxiety, fear, old wounds, self-doubt, insecurity, imposter syndrome, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. When we have emotional security, now, like, we can just do Leo, the sign that comes after Cancer in the zodiac. Remember, like, always take the zodiac as the gestalt, as the whole, all 12 signs within the whole. Cancer comes before Leo, is when we finally have that Cancer, the Pluto North Node, the evolutionary growth we are going towards in humanity, that this current Pluto in Aquarius is driving us towards the goal of it, the intention of it, when we come from security, inner emotional security, because everything's emotions, right? Everything you're trying to get is because of how you think it'll make you feel. Everything that you don't want to do, or are resisting, or have an aversion to, or pushing away, or suppressing, or denying, or escaping, is because you don't want to feel that emotion. So when humanity has emotional mastery, management, security, etc., now how do we do Leo? Not from megalomania and self-aggrandizement and endlessly self-referential, but we now do Leo and creative self-actualization, taking our will to create our destiny. And there's a big Leo full moon, you know, on the 25th, 5 days after Pluto goes into Aquarius, after the Sun Pluto conjunction, after Mercury moves out of shadow retrograde. And finally we get the clarity that pops. So I have the Leo full moon video up with the sun sign horoscope, so you can get that. So powerful, so important. You know, Aquarius is the rebel, the revolutionary, the radical. You know, I think Pluto is going to reveal that within all of our psyches, that rebel part of us that's just like, I'm tired of taking the shit. I ain't doing this anymore. I don't want to live that way. I don't want to be in this relationship. I'm not going to be the yes man anymore. I'm going to own my no. You know, we have Chiron and Aries. We have the North Node in Aries at the time Pluto's going into Aquarius. So, and Pluto goes into Aquarius for 20 years in November. The North Node won't get out of Aries until January of 2025. So it's still going to be that Aries archetype. That's the lesson, the emotional lesson that humanity is meant to learn right now, is autonomy and courage and owning your no and yes and speaking your voice, setting boundaries, speaking your boundaries, asking for your needs to be met. Whether they are or not, it's a whole different thing, but asking for them to be met. And so, you know, Aquarius, you know, it is consciousness. It is the connection to the quantum field and to all knowledge in existence. It is, you know, connection to the galactic knowledge, to other dimensions, to, you know, like this is going to be awakening to that we are aliens, that it's not that there's this UFO disclosure. They're in other dimensions. You know, they're not going to pop down to a third dimension. You know, I mean, and of course there are sightings and all of this kind of stuff, but aliens, we are aliens. You know, we are soul and we have embodiment. We're an embodiment of consciousness in this form. We incarnate in earth and do the evolutionary goals and intentions we have, however well or poorly, and then we spend time on other star systems, and we're here and we're there and we're all over the universe. And you know, we're all people are from different star systems and different places. Like Earth is this interesting like melting pot of all these different people. You know, we are aliens. My guides laugh all the time, and my Andromeda and Arcturian guides laugh all the time. And like, you know, when like people I'm channeling for will ask me like about aliens and stuff, and they'll laugh and always tell me to give them this message that like, you're an alien to us, trying to get them out of the old paradigms. You know, Aquarius is paradigm shifts. Like a lot of life coaches are like, I'm a thought leader. I'm not like, fuck being a thought leader. I'm a paradigm shifter, and I always have been. I have Aquarius South Node. So my ego structure from past life after past life after past life was very Aquarius. And our South Node always carries shadow. It's been a lot of healing I've had to do. But I'm very Aquarian. I understand the Aquarian archetype inside and out, because it was my ego structure for so many past lives that I experienced. And so I understand very much about non-conformity and freedom and liberation and an expanded consciousness and innovation and ingenuity and thinking for yourself. And this understanding that it like of like of this universal, being a universal citizen, of a connection to the quantum field, of pulling the information down, of channeling. You know, you have to look at Uranus as, I'm going to get into something really interesting, so stay with me here. And if you'd like to book an astrology reading, you can do that at empoweredwomenrise.com. Throw a like on this video. Make sure you subscribe and share this video with your friends. You can text it off to somebody right now who might love this. You know, Aquarius is this Pisces glyph. So Pisces is the divine. It's the connection to the all that is. It is the alpha and omega. It is the invisible that comes into visible form. It is, you know, it is the divine. It is us. And then it's like this antenna. So we have, you know, our head connected to this antenna of the divine, the all that is, the quantum field, etc. So we have to understand that Aquarius, most of the time, it's an air sign. We think of thoughts, and Aquarius is a very cerebral sign. It takes something 3D out in space in front of us. So it takes the idea, concept, or an engine, if you think about an engine, and it puts it out in front of you in 3D and turns it upside down and around and wants to understand it from every single angle, every single part about it. That's a very Aquarian thing. It's the observer, the objectiveness, versus the Leo subjectiveness. So Aquarius is looking to but the thing about Aquarius, it's the two wavy lines, is it's actually vibration and frequency. It's the last air sign. It's after the earthly plane. This is Capricorn, Sag, Scorpio, Libra, Virgo, Leo, Cancer, Gemini, the first air sign, the moon in Gemini here, and then Taurus, Aries, Pisces. So, and this is technically where we kind of like to think of the start of the zodiac, of where we incarnate into a physical form, take on an ego and a body. But this is the line where the earthly plane ends. And now we're in frequency. So Pluto in Aquarius is going to really reveal where we don't have agency over our frequency, our vibration, where we don't know how to manage our vibration. We don't know how to stay stabilized at a higher vibration. Where we don't have control over our own frequency. And it's also going to illuminate and show us, it's going to teach us all about this. This is going to be this huge 20-year learning, and all of it, and a bunch of us are pioneering and moving ahead. And so I want to share this with you because Aquarius is about frequency and vibration. So if we look at the map of consciousness, this is so powerful because the map of consciousness, it's like, are we in a spiritual paradigm? Because Aquarius is also paradigm, right? It's like, what paradigm are you living in? Paradigm just means reality, right? Everyone's living in this different reality. But here's the thing, your subconscious creates reality. Your beliefs are in your subconscious that create reality. Whatever you believe becomes your reality. So, what paradigm you're living in, you're really under that. If you think you've lost your keys, your brain will not show you your keys because your brain is a soft computer, that allows you to be programmed by whatever thoughts you're thinking. So if you're sitting there going, I lost my keys, where's my keys? And you're looking around the house, but you're walking by your keys sitting right there on the table over and over and over again, because your brain's job is to prove that thought true and to find evidence that corroborates that thought. It's not that that thought is true at all. So literally, all of us humans are living in all these different realities that are true for us, that we are playing out as if they were true, when we have the possibility to live in really amazing realities, at this highest level. But are we? Choosing to? And obviously there's this spectrum of people awake and not awake, people intelligent, not intelligent. There's a spectrum of intelligence and a spectrum of being awake and having eyes open and seeing. There's a spectrum of being able to act and take action and to create and to have agency and to take your power back. There's a spectrum of people being healed or not. And so we're all behaving in this way from a healed place or not. And a lot of people have privilege of not having gone through intense trauma, and also have privilege of not really living and being out in the world. And so therefore never facing hardships and difficulties that might create trauma for them, that they have to learn, Taurus resourcefulness and skill set with. So this spiritual paradigm on the map of consciousness, just look right here, 500 and above is, what is 500? 5D reality, 5D consciousness. Einstein was at 499, but love makes logic irrelevant. It's a completely different paradigm. We're under new rules when we're in this paradigm. We're under new existence. things just flow, things just manifest, things just happen. We're living peacefully, all of these different ways of living. But when we're in this level, we can't seem to manifest the same way. Things just don't pop out of the ethers well. Like we're not necessarily having flow and amazingness. And we're trying to figure it out instead of actually just allowing it to show us what the answer is. Or the survival paradigm where people are under 200. Courage is said to be 200 because it's the level of integrity, courage, integrity, the ability to act. Everything under this is this survival paradigm where we're in the limbic primal brain, and people are angry, people just murder, kill, punish, revenge, and all of those types of archetypes living in that type of reality. And so if you look at it here, you'll see that the map of consciousness shows us, and I like to really call it the map of frequency rather than consciousness, because it is, I think there's some misunderstandings there. Yeah, but anyway, so 700 and 1,000. If you're not familiar with this, it's just a logarithmic scale because we have to assign measurement to be able to have a scale with which to measure things. And Dr. Hawkins did this work where he and his wife did like millions of kinesiological tests to calibrate where things were at in the world, to develop this logarithmic scale, this map of consciousness, and to also understand where we have this ability to discern truth from falsehood. So we really want to start navigating life on our intuition, because technology is becoming sentient. AI is starting to rule our world. People are putting chips in their hands out of convenience to get onto a train. And so we really want to navigate this world with our intuition, but so many people are not connected to their intuition. They're navigating this world still with their mind and their ego, and not even actually understanding the difference even. And so another way to know truth from falsehood is kinesiological testing, but you got to be above 200 to even have a test come out right. And then you got to learn the skill of the testing, which it really is a skill to do it and get a correct answer. But anyway, setting all that aside, the point that I'm really getting to is that Aquarius is frequency, Aquarius is vibration. So our view of the divine, we won't use this patriarchal world, and deities aren't real, so the divine, which we are, and which we come from, it is what we are, etc. There's no like person in the sky, this divine view. So our view of the divine at the highest level of enlightenment, like I wish I could think of a female one. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to start trying to find a list of female enlightened avatars and beings. But let's say the Buddha, who was not actually, did not allow women until his sister fought him on it, to meditate and learn Vipassana, his form of meditation, to reach enlightenment. So just so you know, patriarchy still alive and well with an enlightened being. So you know what I mean? Nothing is perfect, but anyways, you realize that the divine is you at this level. Now, many of us get this, but we're probably not like walking around, living our life moment to moment in this way. Although we might have moments of pure consciousness where we pop into these higher level of vibration sometimes, and then we pop out and it's like, oh my God, I'm walking through molasses. But we pop into this higher vibration and we have these moments of pure consciousness, of knowing that we are the divine, we're from the divine, it is all us, it is all one. Obviously, we're not going to function on the earth with that kind of being in that kind of vibration very well. So it's not typically a place that we can stay. If you notice, all the enlightened beings, they're just sitting on a pillow somewhere and people are like visiting them, because they don't really have to be in the body anymore. There's like no reason for them to be in the body. They have to really fight to actually stay in the body. And so just being in this acceptance, neutrality, willingness, this green is where most of humanity needs to get to. They just need to get to the green, where their predominant emotional state, instead of being scorn and hate and craving and anxiety and regret and despair and blame and humiliation, which is where most of humanity has been at for 6,500 years at least. We want people to just get to forgiveness and optimism and trust. to view life harmoniously, to view life satisfactorily, hopefully, to view the divine as merciful, inspiring, enabling, a positive connotation of enabling, we just would like more people to come from here to there, because this would stop war and death and murder. If 85% of humanity could be moved up to here, a perfect example of understanding this and understanding vibration is how the whole country of North Korea is basically in this bottom three. They are in apathy. They are just like programmed under control of this dictator, generation after generation after generation, in malnutrition, not being fed and nourished, no purpose, no freedom, no liberation, no individuation, nothing. And they're literally at a level of apathy. So if we somehow could remove this dictator from North Korea and free these people, this whole, and why aren't we doing that? But whatever, and freeing these people, then they would still be at this level of consciousness, of vibration. And at these levels of vibration, there actually has to be an intervention. You literally have to have people at higher levels of vibration to bring these people up. And you have felt this. You have experienced being in a low place, very low mood, vibration, experience of life. And somebody comes along who is radiating light, who is in a high frequency, and they bop you out of these low vibrations and frequencies to a higher frequency. And you're like, oh my God, I escaped. Finally, I got out. And that's what's crazy, is if you're low enough, you actually need help. You need intervention to pop you out. And that's why all of this victim blaming and shaming in the world needs to stop. I had this, like this astrologer who's been doing astrology for like supposedly 40 years or 20 years. I don't know which one it is, but like victim blame and shame me. And it's just like, wow, how are you helping anyone? How are you healing anyone? Like, first of all, I don't need help or healing. Like, I'm well aware of like whatever's going on. Like, we have our moments where we're like in despair in a moment. It doesn't mean that's who we are all the time. Or maybe we went through something really fucked up and we're in the healing process of it. And it's a journey. Healing is not a push button thing. Healing, we have to go at the speed of healing, and that has its own timing. It's as long as you're doing the work, it does work, it does move forward, it does progress as long as you're doing the inner work, but it has its own timing. It's not something that boom, all of a sudden you're just healed because you're facing it. No, that shit takes a little while, and in my coaching program, I help people heal. One of my most common testimonials is, you helped me heal in 6 months what years of therapy didn't do. And I just love that so much, because it's like I've found the techniques that actually work to heal completely from the things that you've been through. And so, it's like this astrologer doesn't get this stuff. It's like, hello, like don't victim and blame and shame people. People actually at a certain level of frequency and vibration have to have interference, have to have intervention to come up to a level where they finally have the agency to act on their own behalf. So if North Korean people were freed today out from under that tyranny and that horror show and depravity that's going on over there, they would have to be helped to come up to a level where they would finally start taking action themselves to help themselves and to have all of this. So we need to become very enlightened about frequency and vibration and really understand it. And Pluto is going to push us into that growth and that transformation and the liberation that's going to create. And we need to start managing our energy, managing our frequency. So much of the human population has been out and about in the world, taken on some opportunistic energy glommed onto them because they're wide open. They don't know how to close their chakras, or dial open their chakras, close their energy boundaries, or open their energy boundaries. And this takes a journey to figure this stuff out. Like, this isn't stuff you just know all of a sudden. Nobody teaches this. We're not living in a systemic world where this is something you learn from kindergarten and childhood. Some people's boundaries are so closed in, they're not open at all to anything. And other people are just wide the fuck open, that every energy that comes along just gloms onto them, and they're depressed and hurt and having all these emotions that aren't even theirs. And their brain is getting hijacked and going down all the dark alleyways because they have these energies attached to them, that because they walked through a grocery store and somebody was depressed, or somebody was in lack, or somebody's homeless, or they went here and there. And here's the thing, so many people use this as an excuse to shut down your life, to shrink and make your life smaller. And instead, what you have to do is learn the skill of energy management, vibration and frequency management, understanding what it means when your brain gets hijacked, understanding the skill set of learning how to master your mind, learning how to master your emotions, learning how to reprogram your subconscious. All of this is what I do to help the women I work with accomplish their wild, audacious goals, help humanity, make the big change, make money, reclaim your power, your money, your fucking freedom to live the life that you really want to live, instead of being a slave to not having money and not having land and not having the life you really want to live, and not being able to be on the adventure of this incarnation. It's time that we actually embrace our power, our empowerment, and learn these skills that are the gift for life, that you have for life, to solve any problem, create anything you want. If you want to book a free discovery call for me to inquire about 6-month, my one-on-one 6-month coaching program, you can go to empoweredwomenrise.com and book a free discovery call with me. So Pluto in Aquarius is all about, us like learning, frequency, and learning that world. Again, it is after the earthly plane. It is after that. And then, Pluto's going to go into Pisces after this 20-year transit. So Pluto's in the last 2 signs, going to go through the last 2 signs of the zodiac. The south node of Pluto is going to take 250 years to flip-flop in between Capricorn and Aquarius around this 2600 mark. So we're talking 2600. It is currently 2024. It is the 2000s. You could say this is going to be happening in the 2600s. So we're talking 5.5 centuries from now. But the south node of Pluto denotes what has come before. So finally, it's going to go into Aquarius in the 2600s, and it will denote that the Aquarian age has begun. And it's not always the case that the south node of Pluto denotes the age that we're in, but I, with everything that I've researched and looked at and studied, and I might just do a video on this sometime soon, it really seems clear to me that it is going to denote that humanity finally truly completely went into the Aquarian age and is living in the Aquarian age. But it will also denote all of the difficulties that humanity is going through, or the contrast that humanity needs to evolve out of. So something else that's really important about Pluto too is that Aquarius is a fixed air sign. So fixed air, the zeitgeist, the collective thoughts, worldview, idea of life. Usually it's communities or families or collective groups of people that will have these same ideologies, worldviews, the same zeitgeist. Like, there's a spiritual zeitgeist, but it's full of programs and falsehoods and spells and lies and manipulations. And that's where this Neptune is saying, like, see through the falsehood, people, come on, you can do it. And Saturn and Pisces here, like, learning emotional management, learning the skills of the psychic Pisces realm, like opening up to your gifts of your intuition, being able to get information, but not just get information, interpret it correctly. I had a friend who did a lot of channeling for me for a while, and like, she was wildly like gifted, but she had never taken the time to hone that gift. So she actually didn't understand all of the skill set you must develop when you have psychic gifts and abilities, like ethics for one, when to interpret and when to just give pure information. Sometimes like she was always getting like Alice in Wonderland, and that's my grandmother's name and my grandma's spirit side, and she's with me. And I didn't have confirmation on that, and she kept seeing Alice in Wonderland, Alice in Wonderland, Alice in Wonderland, but she never just gave me that pure information. So she was channeling for me for forever, and I'm like sitting there like talking about my grandma, and instead of just giving me this pure information, she just keeps dismissing it as not meaning anything because she doesn't understand what it is. And that's the skill, like we're like learning the thing about, and I'm not saying you're like necessarily that level of a psychic that you have this going on. But I've had to learn how to discern all of the information I'm getting and what it means, what's important to give the person, what's important just for me to know to be a great coach and to help them to overcome their subconscious programming, et cetera, et cetera. But we are learning as a society, Saturn, to have, we are turning into an emotional intuition dominant people from a ego mind dominant people. So Aquarius, while it's an air sign, it's not saying go deeper into the mind, people. It's saying Pluto is a destroyer. It's going to break up the old stuck group think, the old stuck mass formation, mass psychosis that people have been under, the conformity. The people have been conforming to the consensus status quo, to the way things have been. And the reason why people do it is because they poke their head out and they're like, holy fuck, that means I got to take responsibility. I don't know how to do that. But that's what Uranus and Taurus is awakening us to our own skills, talents, abilities, resourcefulness. And then, of course, Aquarius is community. We need to come together in like-minded, kindred communities, not against other communities or peoples, but to rise together, to help progress together. Aquarius is the future, innovation, ingenuity. It is ingenious thinking, out of the box thinking, radical ideas, radical ways. We need to go into the future, but not into the shitty things that keep polluting us and controlling us and doing technologies that only benefit billionaires, that are not helping humanity and are just a narcissist, psychopath, or sociopath that's like trying to control humanity or world powers or these types of things, or money, real estate. China's buying up so much real estate in the US. Like we got to be aware of this shit. We have to come together in communities, and all of us get together and collectively buy up real estate and have it owned by the people who live in that area. We have to own our water and our land and our sky and our air. I mean, look at all of the sky junk that's just up in the sky above the earth. Like, look about the airspace above the earth, and somebody's going to want to try to own that. That is a collective property. We have to understand the commons and bring the commons back. There's something called commons. You can look it up and search engine it and get a lot of great information to understand. Like, we have the commons: water, land, our airspace above the earth, are the things that we all breathe the air. If it's polluted, we're all getting that. Here's the other thing about vibration and frequency is that fluorescent lights, artificial sugars, pollution, that stuff doesn't affect you when you're at a higher frequency. And this is proven with science. It doesn't affect you at a higher frequency. But down here, you get sick. So this is why it's so important to realize we're going into 5D consciousness. I wondered why I made this paper. Like, this is humanity's liberation, Pluto and Aquarius. This is like a birth, because Pluto is death and rebirth. So this is a death and rebirth cycle of humanity's liberation, of 5D consciousness, of unleashing our ingenuity, our ingenious, our own genius, connecting to it, knowing we have it, using it, pushing the edge of our greatness. If every individual was just creatively self-actualizing, emotionally secure, Cancer, Libra, tolerant of other people, Aries, owning our no and yes, and assertive, not aggressive, assertive and confident, and initiated, took action. And we were like Sag, like in tune with natural, like we were in alignment with the natural way of all of life. And we were Scorpio, we were like sexually liberated and connected to psychology and our deep subconscious and understanding that whole world. And we were Capricorn, like having wisdom, the healthy Capricorn. How would we be? How would humanity be if we were just like spending our time creatively self-actualizing from this place of security? Like, what would this world look like? It would be a pretty fucking magical place. It'd be a pretty fucking magical place. Like, don't you want to live in a world like that? And you can. All of us that are moving up in frequency are creating that world, are living in that world now. Most of us are like swinging between frequencies and up and down, and we're having the ascension high highs and low lows. I've done a podcast all about that. So you can get the link below and listen to it on the Light Goddess podcast, iTunes, Spotify, everywhere. Or you can go to empoweredwomenrise.com and click the podcast page. Much easier. But, it's such a great episode to understand. Like, we have these ascension high highs and low lows, and we swing in and out of higher frequency for a while. Usually, like, hundreds of people I've talked to have reported this same phenomenon. And so it like takes a while to stabilize at higher and higher frequencies. And we don't want to secure higher frequency through external things, through like locking ourselves out in the woods and having the perfect setup and always having water and always having everything just so. If you do that, it will fuck up. It will not last. It is not sustainable. You have to do it from the inside out. So those of us swinging and not letting our privilege or our money or our like draw of the draw of the particular circumstances allow us to keep ourselves in this nice little bubble away from actually living the real adventure of life, because Aquarius is adventurous and loves to go out and talk to people and get to know people and wants to be doing something and wants to be out there. If you like know somebody with a lot of Aquarius energy, they're like just constantly doing, thinking, being, creating. Like, they're very creative and very individual. It's just that opposite polarity of the Leo archetype in a different way, very much that same thing, very gregarious and social and out there in the world. And so you don't want to let the privilege of some bubble of circumstances or money or privilege or not having trauma like make you separate yourself from the world, so that you don't actually develop the internal ability to stabilize at a frequency. Because we have to realize there's a shadow of Aquarius. Artificial. What's artificial? AI and all artificial. Think about how artificial applies to everything. So artificially stabilizing at a frequency, because you're never actually interacting with life and being swayed left and right and up and down and provoked and triggered and having all your buttons pushed so all your stuff can come up, so you can actually face it and heal it and progress and really evolve. Pluto evolve. So Pluto's the destroyer. It's going to destroy all of these conformities and groupthink of the collective. I think this is going to be like such a liberating, huge, like 20 years that we're going through. I think it's just such a like death and rebirth and like such a huge birth. And so many of us pioneers, I think, are going to get real true benefit of these next 20 years. Channel, vibe, connection, the human family, invention, experiment, create. These are all Aquarian themes. The prevailing attitude and zeitgeist is going to be usurped by Aquarius, and Aquarius is going to show us all of the things that are not right, all of the manipulations, all of the abuses of power. Pluto is going to show us all the abuses of power in the prevailing attitude, because that's Aquarius, the way we think, right? Aquarius is the zeitgeist, is the collective idea, the collective opinion, or the ideas that are held by a group of people. So Pluto is the destroyer and is going to show us all of the cracks in the foundation of all of that. There is this fight, this tug of war between tradition seeming to be, between tradition and between the new paradigm, and between invention and progression and evolution. There's like this tug of war between it. But here's the thing, that's natural law. You don't have to think about it, figure it out, talk about it, analyze it. Oh my gosh, you just know. You know the traditions that are worthy of keeping, knowing how to can food. That's a great thing to be always knowing how to do, knowing how to forage, like traditions of gatherings and so forth. But there needs to be progression where just so many things are outdated. They were outdated 100 fucking years ago, let alone now. Like, it's crazy to me how much we have not evolved in humanity. And like, I'll tell you, like, I was bored to death for most of my life. Like, I just studied all the time. So, like, humanity um, must develop self-reliance. Uranus, the ruler of Aquarius, is the ruler of Aquarius is in Taurus, about self-reliance, valuing ourselves, self-worth, and our ability to take care of ourselves. And yes, it's money and prosperity too. And so this self-reliance, like, there's a reason why Uranus is in Taurus when Pluto goes into Aquarius, and Uranus will be here till 2026. There's a reason why the moon's in Gemini, because we'll be able to identify, we'll be able to communicate things, we'll be able to understand Gemini. There's a reason why, you know, Venus is conjunct the galactic center. Chiron and the North Node are in Aries. There's a reason why. That we're going to end collective dependence, end collective learned helplessness. We're going to grow out of collective victimhood. That is Taurus, growing out of the learned helplessness. We have learned helplessness in the collective. We have so much victimhood in the collective. People think that they don't have victimhood, and they're so shocked when they get their eyes open to it. And this is why we don't want to victim blame and shame, because that doesn't help anybody heal. You don't want to be like, you're a victim, because that really helps somebody heal. There's so much shame. Like, it's not just victimhood, there's shame attached to it, and then there's this attached to it, and this attached to it, and this attached to it. And that's why I am a healer, is I understand all of these dynamics going on within someone's psyche to help them up that mountain of healing, to heal those things completely, that gentleness, that compassion, that validation, that witnessing skill that is needed. And how do you actually heal those things? I use my techniques and methods to do just that. And we need community. We need loving presence. We need a loving witness, and we need believing eyes, meaning that we have eyes on our best friend, and we believe in them, and we believe in what they can do when they're kind of having self-doubt and not sure of themselves. We know they can do it, and we're encouraging and being like, I know you can do this. I see it. Like, we're believing them into their own belief in themselves. And that's so much what a coach does. It's what I do for my clients in coaching too, is I believe for you, instill your belief until we get your belief to grow to that level yourself. And your belief kind of stands on its own two legs, right? And so there's actually so much collective victimhood, and people have it in so many ways. Like, so this one girl, somehow I was ended up talking to her, and she was like, oh, at least, we talked about what we do, and she's like, oh, at least you have a job that you love. That's victimhood, thinking that she has no control over the work that she does in the world. Now, is it easy to do your soul mission, your calling? No, you have to maybe work a job you just make money at while you're building the other. Do you have to maybe learn a bunch of things? Is it maybe provoking all of your insecurities and self-doubts and anxieties? Of course. Doing your soul mission is self-development. You're going to face all your shit and overcome it to actually do the thing that you love, to do your sacred calling in this life. Everybody thinks oh, then I'll be happy. I'll just do what my heart longs to do and everything will just be great. No, it's fucking hard as hell. And you have a ton of negative thoughts, and you usually don't feel that great. That means, everything's working. So we have this collective dependence that we need to dismantle. And so we got to face it. And so a lot is going to be revealed there. And Aquarius is community, but it's also impersonal and often examining things from a distance. And it's like lost in the objective, examining of things from a distance. Like we'll have to come together actually caring about the individual. We'll have to have the polarity of Leo in the Aquarius. And we have a Leo full moon right after Pluto enters Aquarius 5 days later. And we're going to have to join the subjective and the objective together, the caring about people personally and also caring about humanity, but also having objectivity to not get too personally wrapped up into things that isn't that right moment. And that's where discernment comes in. Context, when do we do what? And again, natural law, inner knowing, you just know that. And when you don't know that, you're just on this journey of learning and failing until you actually get it, and then you get it. Like we have to learn through experience, and everybody's so afraid to have experiences, so afraid of failure, but that's exactly how you actually only ever learn, is through like the whole story I told you about the child walking. It looks like complete failure until the moment they finally have sturdy legs. It looks like a non-success all the way up to success. So we have to like understand these things, that Pluto is destroying this hold on the mind that has humanity like moving and not like moving up in frequency and not evolving. And so if we want humanity to have choice and agency and consciousness and ability. And the other thing about Aquarius is the infinity. My guide started telling me this a couple years ago, that they're like, you are infinite, you are infinite, and they just kept saying it over and over again. And this, there's something else about Aquarius, like aerodynamics. And when I used to fly, when I first started learning how to fly a plane, I wanted to tilt the nose down to land the plane, but my instructor would say it over and over and over and over again, and he just kept repeating it. And it literally probably took him saying it like 100 times before like I just got it finally. And he would always say, pitch for speed, power for altitude, pitch for speed, power for altitude. Pitching the nose down creates more speed. It doesn't help you land. It's not good. You're going to crash. You want to take the throttle out to start to reduce your power throttle to get the plane to start moving onto the ground. And so like it's so counterintuitive. And so he like had to like just repeat it over and over and over. And so my guides have been repeating that to me over and over and over. And I understood, like, I know that this has got to just like sink into my consciousness somewhere, sometime finally, and I'll just like get it in a way that I just really like. I know you're saying something, but I don't get what you're really saying. Like I get it as a concept, but I really don't get it experientially, what they mean. But they've been saying for 2 years, like, you're infinite, you're infinite, you're infinite. Like understanding that you are soul, you are not this body ego. However, your body ego experiences like really dastardly challenge, pain, and loss. So, we can't always be in that Neptunian high conscious kind of that Neptunian like spiritualized kind of frame of mind about every moment of our life. But my guides are wanting us to understand we are infinite, we are infinite, we are infinite. And this is very much like this Aquarian type of principle. And I don't really know if I have the language for expressing like what they're actually trying to teach us. So I just wanted to pass this message along, and understanding like the aerodynamics are also Aquarius, airplanes and future and innovation and technology. What are the aerodynamics of everything, of your emotional landscape, of your thought landscape? What are the aerodynamics of it? Like, is there room around it, or is it just, is there just so much junk? Like most people's brain is a junk closet that they never clean out and don't know what's in there, and it's like a horror show, and you open the door and like everything just falls out on top of you. Like we need to learn mind management. You need to like pen to paper, understand how to question your mind, think deliberately on purpose, create on purpose. I'm telling you, it would change your life. It will change your life. So I'm going to go into Pluto and Aquarius for all 12 signs. Make sure to throw a like in this video. Really appreciate you. It helps other women to find this video. I am doing a 12-week online retreat, Healing Through the Zodiac. It starts on January 30th. I'm really, really excited about it. It's going to be in the style of Sacred Feminine Women's Circles, only for women. And each week we're going to take one sign. And you've never learned astrology like this. You're going to actually learn where the 12 signs, each one, because everyone has all 12 signs. You're going to learn where it's at in your chart, where it's at in your personality and your own consciousness, and how to turn the volume down on the shadow and turn the volume up on the gifts and the application of that sign in your life, the functionality of it, and how to actually like navigate your life from this really powerful place, this code breaking place of understanding the 12 signs, because the 12 signs are all of life, and all of life are fit into the 12 signs. So it's going to be incredibly powerful. I'm going to do Reiki attunements on each sign each week. If you're there live, it's going to be replays, of course. You're going to get a workbook. I mean, it's just going to be so much fun. The last time I did a sacred container like this with women, like I am literally still evolving from the conversations we had and the growth we got and the healing that we did. So there's going to be so much healing and transformation and growth. So it's a $297 value, probably could be much more, but it's only going to be $97. So I really encourage you to come join us for 12 weeks. Yes, some weeks you might not be able to make it. There's replays, but starts January 30th. So the link is below. Come join us, or just go to the link and find out more. You can go to Empowered Women Rise and also click the banner at the top of the page to find out more about healing through the zodiac. I also have a free Healing Through the Zodiac masterclass that will teach you everything you need to know to come join us in that retreat. And will just be so fun and so powerful, and it will really shift you. And it is on my YouTube. So just go to my YouTube, follow me there so you can get the great content there, and watch that free masterclass and have fun with me there, and come join us in the retreat. I'm sending you so much love. I really appreciate you subscribing so that this just pops up in your feed and you get your sun sign horoscopes bi-weekly. And also, I really appreciate you just shooting this, sharing this video with a friend so somebody else can get a piece of a little nugget that they really needed to hear just at that moment. And thank you for liking this video. Leave your comments. Let me know, any of your questions, doubts, like, what you liked, what inspired you, any revelations. I'd love to hear from you. So really appreciate you. So I am going to do Pluto in Aquarius for all 12 signs, and I'm going to do that over on my Patreon. So Patreon, you'll get my free masterclass when you join us on Patreon. It's $3. It's less than a half a cup of coffee. It's less than half of the cost of a latte. So come join us over there. I'm going to be doing really exclusive horoscopes for your rising sign and your sun sign only over on my Patreon, and it's only $3. So get your Pluto horoscope for your sun sign and your rising sign over on Patreon. You can find it there. Sending you so much love. The link is below for that. And I really appreciate you being here. And I hope this video really rocks your world and just expands your consciousness and helps support you during this transition and this shift that can be a little clunky and a little tiring and maybe really hard for some of us too. So sending you lots of love, and I'll talk to you in the next video. And for everything else, make sure to go to empoweredwomenrise.com. See you later, y'all.